I'm only just getting to the 2600 plus now, after everyone else has kind of given their 2 cents on it, after the announcement of a 7800 plus. Yeah, it's been that busy a couple months. Long story, but basically I have a life. It's what it is, and content creation is one of the few joys I have. Yeah. Well, I am doing the 2600 plus now, even with the 7800 plus coming up. But how can I make this video different than all the other ones you've seen? Well, stay tuned and I'll let you know. But first, better get started with reviewing of the 2600 plus, and with that I made use of the games provided. The 10 games in one, which came with the 2600 plus. I look at each of these in order. On the back is a series of dip switches that allows you to select which game on the library you can use. And also to make things interesting with the 2600 plus testing, I make use of a specialty joystick that I got at a gaming convention. Little jobby done by BD Retro Mods. Also, along with that, I also test it with this baby. And I'll tell you flat out, specialty joysticks, specialty controllers, they do work on this. So let's have some fun. Starting off, we have Adventure. We're going to do this at level 1. The big Easter egg, the first of all, is located further down the list. But for the most part, it's getting the treasure, killing the dragon, and getting the treasure back to the castle. Yep, there goes dragon. The arrow is your spear. The black key is actually a magnet key, but yep. And that dot is you. That's the first representation of human play. Yep, the dragon's dead. Some say the dragons look like ducks. Yeah, I could probably see it. That black key, well actually, the black key is needed to get into the Black Castle. And here you are going through the level 1 maze. Should be a simple enough maze to get through. If you know what you're doing. But this also allows you to... Yep, that's a bridge. As you cross over. And you can take it pretty much anywhere. That's a magnet. Yep. Allows stuff to follow you, especially the treasure. So, but yeah, that goblet, that's your goal. So you grab that, take it with you, make sure you can cross the bridge, and yeah, as I said, you can move the bridge along if you need to find someplace else to go. Wow, taking a whole bridge with you. That's quite a feat. Maybe it's a rope bridge, at least in real life. Watch out for the dead dragon. Going up. Game over. You have won. Next up, combat. Tanks, tank pong, the invisible tanks. Yeah, believe it or not, that's an invisible tank pong. Biplanes. Sometimes biplanes versus bomber, and jet fighters to wrap things up. The thing is, this is really just, it's not a one-player game. You need another player. Otherwise, you're just blowing the tank from one end to the other. It's like you're just making sure you're in range to shoot them and just blow them from one end to the other. You need another player to provide a challenge to you. This was the pack-in title back in the days of the when it was the VCS 2600. This is Tank Pong. When you fire, it bounces around, or it can connect to the opponent. If you're looking for any one-player action, maybe you're better off with Tank Pong or Invisible Tank if you're trying to get your tank to shoot the player. I guess not in his safe spot, apparently. Yeah, I guess he has to move out of his zone too. And you can find yourself way on the other side as well. There's also Invisible Tank. I guess you can also pull off a little bit of a one-player game with that. But it's like you're trying to find where your opponent is, even if he's not moving. But you're also trying to find out where you yourself are, too. And for extra fun in games, you have Invisible Tank Pong. Bouncing around a shot and going nowhere with it. Yep, this is Invisible Tank. You become visible for a few seconds, trying to find out where you are. Yep, and where your opponent is. And for the rest of this, I was trying to determine... Yeah, there I am. There's the other guy. So, now you're wondering where you are. And you lose track of where your opponent could be. And you're trying to find yourself as you're trying to find the one you're shooting. As I said, this you might be able to get away with one-player action, but barely. You're better off with two players for combat. This is one of those where you definitely do not play alone. Next up, Dodge 'em. This is definitely a one-player game. You're basically just trying to capture all the dots and move on to the next level and avoid the crash car. Your button controls your speed. The joystick controls your maneuvering. And you just have to try not to crash into the crash car, which is pretty crafty. As time goes, as you get better with the game, sometimes another crash car will appear. Dodge 'em is a fun concept and requires a little bit of skill with the joystick and also skill with the button as you're trying to control your speed. Dodge 'em is definitely a game I would recommend playing for the old school players. Haunted House, this one I've covered before. This is also on the cartridge. Later levels are a lot harder, where you're actually in the dark. The entire background is black, and really you're a pair of eyes. Light a candle. Try to capture the pieces in the urn. Avoid the ghosts. Avoid the vampire bat. And avoid the tarantula. You can take 9 hits. When all 9 go, you are... Yep, vampire bat and ghosts. And your candle extinguishes when they're around as well. There's also a scepter on later levels that allows you to be invulnerable, but your main goal is to escape as the Twilight Zone theme plays. Missile Command, that's also another one I've covered. You're basically deflecting missiles that are coming down. And you only have one base to work off of as you try to defend 6 cities. Very challenging, but really the only thing you can do is try to run up as high a score as you can get. You get through a level, and then you just have another one coming at you. You have the standard missiles, you have a limited number. You also have to make sure you can save your cities. If you lose one, you can get another one around 10,000 points. Pretty simple concept. Real sports volleyball. You're controlling 2 players on the right that operate in synchronicity. You're bouncing the ball across. You've got the sun in the background. It's essentially volleyball, which looks... Actually, they had football, and they had basketball, and they had baseball before they came out with the Real Sports line. I don't think they ever did a volleyball game, although they did do a soccer game, Pele's Soccer. I think this was Atari's first foray into volleyball with the Real Sports titles. There are other Real Sports titles, but they did not make the cartridge for the 2600 Plus with the joysticks. It's a fun game. It's volleyball, 2 players, and you're just bouncing the ball over the net and just trying to get more points than the other side. Simple enough concept, simple enough game. Enjoy it. Surround. This is another one where you basically need 2 players, otherwise it's really just a waste. It's essentially your 2 blocks and you're trying to trap one another within the trails you leave behind. Video pinball, that's another one I've covered. It's pinball, and pretty much the concept of every pinball game is the same. You're trying to keep a ball in play. You got flippers at the base. You try to get as many points as you can. Knock out the special areas. You even got the Atari symbol right on the side. It's pinball. You can have fun. You can enjoy it. This is definitely a game worth coming back to. And now, the big one, the classic, Yar's Revenge, developed by Howard Scott Warshaw himself. This is the one he is best known for, among one of his greatest, and the one that's regarded as not so great was E.T., which I can't. Yar's Revenge was a take on Star Castle. They tried to do Star Castle for the 2600. It was a concept that did not take, but they thought maybe they could make it work another way. You are essentially a bug-like alien called a Yar. You are to knock out the defenses of the Q-Tile and put in range so that you can destroy him with the Zorlon cannon, which is off to the left-hand side. You've got a dash, which is a seeker that the Q-Tile uses to destroy you. The Q-Tile also has a super weapon of his own. And looks like even the Zorlon cannon can get you as well. You have 2 designs of which one is the Q-Tile's weapon. Avoid that. You also have projectiles you can fire, as well as eating through the Q-Tile's defenses. But you eat through them to call upon the Zorlon cannon. Otherwise, the Q-Tile can pieces until you can destroy them, which is pretty much a spectacular sight. The design you see is like the main one with the cute design, defense, but there's another with a square. A lot of these games I do enjoy, but there are some that do require two-player action. Combat, surround, and even on this 4-on-1 with the paddles, also best played with an opponent, or in the case of Breakout, best played with a family. And many of these are good as well. And one, well, one you have to play with an opponent, and the other, well, I'm not sure about. Take a look at the video and I'll explain. Starting off, the classic Breakout. A descendant of Pong, which stemmed from that game, making use of the ball and paddle format. But instead of turning it against each other, you are using it to break blocks in a wall. The premise behind Breakout is you're basically trying to escape a prison. I remember the home version and the arcade version both highlighted a prisoner trying to break out of a walled prison. It is definitely a fun game. You really have to have skills, and it is a family game as it is good for 4 players. You have to have good skills and good practice, because the further you go, the faster the ball goes. So you have to track the ball, track the paddle, and keep on going. Just try to stay in as best you can. It's easier said than done, but there's also a variant on this game called Breakthrough, where you basically are plowing through the wall. However, it means the ball goes faster. So you are going to be going crazy trying to get through that wall. The premise is to try to make all the blocks, whether in Breakout or Breakthrough, disappear. With the earlier games, that was a difficult task, but still fun. This one, however, Canyon Bomber, I had a hard time trying to figure this one out. You are different aircraft bombing a canyon. Looks like helicopters, small jets, bigger jets, and you are just trying to knock bombs into a hole in the ground. Looks like some of those blocks tend to reformat, but the trick is, I think this is more like a reverse Breakout. The premise is the same as you're trying to destroy the blocks. Instead of them being in a wall, these blocks are in a hole. Like in Breakout, the trick is to make sure all the blocks disappear. Although I think with Canyon Bomber that might be an easier task. I don't think in the home version you can make all the blocks disappear with Breakout, let alone the arcade version. I think over time there were versions that did allow for blocks to fade in and moving on to a next level. Here I think that is a little more difficult. But moving on, The next game on the series is Night Driver. With this, you are pretty much driving at night, trying to stay on the road. In your earlier levels, you have about 90 seconds to drive as long as you can without hitting one of the side berms, a tree, a house, or an approaching car. An approaching car, they'll honk your horn at you if you put the difficulty switch in the right place. But basically, you are trying to last as long as you can. The points are determined on the left. You basically have to keep in motion for your points to climb. Hit that car, and, well, you see the wreck on the side. As I mentioned, points are determined with how long you stay on the road. The time is always counting down, unless you are in the no time mode, but I believe the no time mode is just simply, it just takes long. You press the paddle button to move, to accelerate, that's your gas pedal, and your paddle knob is your left and your right. It is a fun game, very much a challenge, and, well, you can really learn how to drive. Well, not really learn how to drive, but you can enjoy it. This one is Video Olympics, and this one, some would say it's variations of Pong, but it's cast like Olympic sports, hockey, soccer, tennis, etc. As you scroll through all 50, you get an idea of what they're about, but only like game 1 are you able to do Pong with the computer. Excuse me for a second as I'm trying to figure out where I am here. Looks like I'm on the right. The computer's moves are a little more polished while you are a little on the rough side, or at least I am because I'm the guy playing. Points are basically determined by apparently trying to make it to 21 points. At least that's how it was when I was playing against the computer here. Video Olympics, however, is a game that is for two-player, player versus opponent. I guess I'll use the word combat, because you're supposed to be adversarial against an opponent. You're supposed to, well, find opponents and try to beat them. Much like, Street Fighter always said, Street Fighter 2 said, seek a worthy opponent. Those fighting games were always supposed to be adversarial, and Video Olympics, and I'd say even combat, has that same vein. Say combat and Video Olympics. But also in playing Pong, a lot of us would not be here now if it wasn't for this game. That ball and paddle going back and forth across the screen left us wanting more. And left programmers and developers trying to create more. And the more they created, well, we loved much of it. We hated some of it. But we always looked to have fun playing it. And no matter what your age group, no matter what game you play, as long as you had fun, that was the important thing. Some cases even had games where you learned a few things. One thing about Pong is your strategy. Always have to strategize to keep the ball in play. But as you go on to other levels, you are going to need that other opponent, because with a lot of games, it's just no fun playing by yourself. Whether it's soccer or field hockey. Breakout is an Atari classic for a reason. It's been in the arcades, and it's been a fixture of the VCS for the longest time. Canyon Bomber, it's like you're trying to navigate the projectile falling down as you're one of many planes flying over it. Hard to say. Night Driver, that's always fun. You're driving at night for 90 minutes trying not to hit something. Well, 90 seconds. And it also has a untimed level as well, which you can really get into. Video Olympics, you start off playing Pong with the computer, but the rest, you're going to need an opponent. Much like with Combat and much like with Surround. So, moving on, what also came along? Berserk Enhanced. Let's take a look at this one. This is Berserk Enhanced. And, well, opinion my playing's not enhanced. But in this, you get to hear a lot of the talking. The robots talk. And which is always a major fun feature of the game. Well, some of the robots, I think, have a little screw loose. They do seem to run into the walls themselves. You're trying not to get caught in it. So, here we go for another one. Ooh, blasted. And I think also just right when one end of me zapped. Blasted. Oh. That close to a robot, you could be that. Whoa. Careful. Oh, this guy's on you. Like wet on rain. Let's see if we can get... That one's firing like crazy. And, well, he destroyed himself, but I destroyed myself too. So, game over. Let's try this again. I want to see if I can get a little something out of this. When you're laying down voiceovers, you never really hear the text as it's coming to you. You always have to look back on it and then try again. The graphics for the players seem a little different, but also again the right position. Ooh, yep. They blew themselves up, and ooh, you blew yourself up. Well, I blew myself up. So, one player. So let's see. Any more? All right, hang on. All right, no crossover. And, Jake and fight like a robot. And right into the wall there. So, ooh, come on. Why so close? Why so close? And let's run out of here. Stay too long, Evil Otto shows up. Actually, it looks like Evil Otto's something of a happy face, you know? Ooh, slammed in the wall right there. Ooh, and of course the robot slams into me and I still slam it. And back at it again. One more time. This is really just a fun game. You always gotta pick your shot careful and make sure the robot does not get one off himself. Yeah. 1, 2, 3. Cleared. Let's get out of here. 60 points. The mazes are pretty simple. The robots, you have to watch out for the fire. You also have to watch out for them running into you. Sure, they'll destroy themselves if they run into you, but you're going to be more destroyed than they are. Because they just go spat, and you pretty much light up like a live wire. And you can't stay in the maze for too long, otherwise Evil Otto shows up, which kind of looks more like a happy face. At least he did to me. Watch out. Chicken, fight like a robot. I just love that sound. And watch out for that guy. Some of them fire fast, some of them just fire a little slow. There's a fast firer. And you got him. And yeah, you got him too. So, they don't seem too much like mazes. I mean, well, there is a path you're trying to get out of, but there's not really much of the twists and turns in it. Like, say, Maze Craze for Atari. So, knock them out. Let's get out of here. And made it. I think I've heard Evil Otto might be like those spider monsters in the game Adventure. When you get into a maze, well, when you get into a challenge, you can't stay in there too long. You're supposed to get through it, get the treasure, and get out fast. Otherwise, those spider Death Eaters, they come after you and you cannot destroy them. I guess Evil Otto is much the same way. He is one of those no way to destroy. You just have to get out fast before he comes to get you. I guess Evil Otto and those spider creatures in Venture, those are the only two references that I know of an invincible character. And I guess those invincible characters really spoil it for the gamer because you really love to find a way to destroy them, and there isn't one. And one more run. Berserk is a fun game, at least for me it is. Get past the simplicity of it. With the audio added, it's closer to the arcade game, and a very enjoyable play. It's a game I can always go back to. But now, bring on a little something that started off in the homebrew market. Atari has acquired Atari Age, which was a fixture of the homebrew scene. And I think has also provided the new Atari company with a wealth of new content. Among that wealth of new content is a little game called Mr. Run and Jump, where you're basically running, jumping, just to catch your dog. Mr. Run and Jump. This is one of the first of the new breed of Atari games out here. There's Mr. Run and Jump's dog, and there you are as Mr. Run and Jump. It comes off pretty simple graphics, but this is a runner. You're always having to move and jump at the same time. And also watch out for those enemies and obstacles. More obstacles than enemies. Otherwise, you die. Down below is a timer, I guess, which you have to beat. And also be careful. The main thing is running and jumping, and also don't hit any of the strange objects that seem to come out of the ground. Yeah, don't hit that. Keep running. Keep on momentum, because you'll find some challenges that really you're going to need all the momentum you can get, like this right here. I always had trouble with this one, because trying to get to the top level, right? And yeah, there's always a pattern, there's always a way you have to get through a lot of these, and you can get caught up in that. I always got trapped in there, and it was always a pain to find your way out to get to the next level. But a little trial and error, a little perseverance, you should be able to make it through that. It's a challenge, but you can do it. Come on, Mr. Run and Jump, or come on me, because you're pushing the buttons. Oh, yep. Die again, touching the oil derrick, I guess. I don't know what the flip that is. And jump, 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 jump. Keep on running, keep on stepping. Jump, 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 jump over. No, you did not do it. Come on, Mr. Run Jump, your dog is, Oh, I made it! Yes! And there's a ladder for you to climb over. Yeah, I just had my day made. Climbing ladders, going over, watch out for that, and ooh. Unfortunately, it means you're also back to the start. Okay, here we go again. Jumping over, jumping over, jumping over. Jump, jump, jump. Going on down. Hang on, jump, jump, jump. Here we go again. Made it. And oh, dang it. The second one, however, got me. And yeah. Come on. You made it before, you made it, and you made it again. Up the ladder. You get through that first challenge, you really see what more of the game there is. And yeah, watch out for that boulder crab. Ooh, another boulder crab, but that one's a little faster. Don't fall in there. Oh, a boulder crab and a spiky mountain. Okay, yep. That's aggravating. And jump, nod. So yeah, some of the running and the jumping, you gotta strategize a bit. And you found your dog, but now he's run off again, and you gotta run after him on a new layer of challenges. Mr. Run and Jump it's a strategy game, but it's also a runner. Trying to catch up to your dog, and also make sure you're not done in by boulders or spikes or whatever they are. So, how do you get to the ladder? I don't know how you can get to the ladder, but it looks like you're not going to make it. Well, I'm not going to make it. So let's try it one more time. Yep, made it. And made it over. Yep. Boulders again. Watch out. Watch the time. Oh, now that's bad. And yeah. And again, back to the beginning. Mr. Run and Jump is a fun game. And it is one that you can go back to. You can enjoy it. You might have a few agonizing moments with it, but you get through those. You can have fun with it. It's a simple design, a simple premise, a simple play. And just for some nice, simple fun. So yeah, I would recommend Mr. Run and Jump. It was also a homebrew game, so I always applaud homebrew developers. Mr. Run and Jump is a fun game. You have to strategize your jumps and also determine how much momentum you get with your run to jump over obstacles and jump over them in the correct way. Once you catch your dog at the end of the level, you pretty much have to chase him again in the next one. There are some enemies you have to avoid. And just keep running and keep jumping and try to determine the best way to get to the end and get your dog. But the 2600 Plus is not a perfect system. There are some games and some controllers that this system does not work on. And to date, I have not come across any fixes for these issues. Let me explain. This is Codebreaker. And, well, the cartridge will play, but I've been pressing on the keyboards, and nothing can come up. Nothing works on this one. I've also got 2 other games in my collection for the keyboards. I've got Brain Games. I've also got Basic Computer. But those have not turned up, and I'm kind of missing. I gotta look for those. But another one I tried out was Hunt and Score, a game of concentration. Unfortunately, even with that, I was not able to make any of the keyboard controls function. Keyboard controls get no love. Also tried Indy 500 with the driving controller. Unfortunately, the knob portion does not work, the button does. But straight ahead is all you can do. For good measure, I decided to try out Star Raiders, which makes use of the joystick and the video touchpad. Well, the joystick function seems to work. It's a basic shoot 'em up. Keeping tabs on your galaxy map. You're looking for targets to destroy. But other functions you can call upon, you need the video touchpad for. And sadly, the touchpad does not work. So you're trying to blast ships, avoid asteroids, avoid other attacks, but not much else to work with here. These kind of look like TIE fighters on this, so I think that's a nice little Star Wars reference here. Ooh, was that a Cylon base star? Wow! So nice couple nods to old school sci-fi. Unfortunately, with this game, I can only show you partially how this game works. Other functions you can call on with the video touchpad, and also the video touchpad, like the driving controller, they really didn't do anything with. The driving controller was only done for Indy 500, also called Race on Sears Telegames. Oh my god, this game is out. And that means I must be coming to an end. But yeah, the driving controller never went further than Indy 500 / Race. The homebrew market did more, and again, the touchpad, same thing. I've said, the keyboards get no love. The keyboard controller is pretty much the third priority controller behind the joystick and behind the paddle. And since the keyboard was primarily tied to educational titles, Atari probably did not consider that a relevant controller. But I think you should do something with the keyboard controllers as well as the driving controller. Otherwise, you don't get the whole package. Keyboards are part of the Atari history, and we've covered 2 of the games here and now. I do have 2 others, Brain Games and Basic Programming. Basic Programming, I think, would be a lot of fun to try, especially as you get reacquainted with an earlier computer language. It might be tedious to navigate, but I think worth it. And sadly, the driving controller also does not work except for the button on the side. But what good is that if you cannot drive the car around? So Atari needs to figure out some means to get the keyboards working and the driver controller working, especially on the homebrew scene where the driving controller has made use in a few games. But if push comes to shove, and because I do want to review the keyboard games at some point in time, if push comes to shove, there's always the original, albeit with the mod in the back. However, there is one thing that I've tried on this that did seem to work. You've probably never seen one of these before. The ESYX Foot Craze pad. You can take a look at a lot of YouTubers, and as far as I know, none of them have ever shown one of these off. The Nerd hasn't. Gen X Grown Up hasn't. The Immortal John Hancock hasn't. Brett Weiss hasn't. But he has mentioned it in his books. So, while I may not be sure of this, indulge me in a little moment of childishness. I got something you ain't got. I got something you ain't got. Yeah. But as one of my heroes once said, what's the point in being grown up if you can't be childish sometimes? What you're looking at now is something that was at one time considered a top 10 collectible that is hard to get among Atari collectors. It still may be, for all I know. The ESYX Foot Craze pad. This was a controller made for only 2 games. Video Jogger and Video Reflex. Your body and your feet are used to play this controller and to play the games with it. When I got it, I was just a child, and my mother was hoping that I needed a little more physical exercise. So she bought this Foot Craze pad. She didn't realize it was a top 10 collectible, or would be later on. I've had this ever since. I've never parted company with it. But now I'm going to put this to work for the 2600 plus. Didn't think you'd see this, did you? This is Video Jogger, and I am using the ESYX Foot Craze pad. Basically, you have to use the Foot Craze pads, well, the red circles on it, to make your jogger move. Normally the center foot pad's in, and your goal is to pass the runner as best you can. Try to get as much laps in, as much fitness as you can, and well, sometimes you probably won't even be able to pass, but for the most part, you're just getting physical exercise. I was surprised that this worked on the 2600 plus. I didn't think the controllers would work on this. To take a look at the Foot Craze pad, and really you're using your foot to press down on circles, much like you're pressing a button. So while the Foot Craze pad seems to work here, it doesn't seem to work for the keyboards or the touchpad. And that's interesting. This is Video Reflex, which is you just trying to, well, squash a bug on the color-coded square. The Foot Craze pad, you just stomp the right circle, and you try to stomp it in a timely manner. Green, red, blue, orange, yellow. You just stomp that fly. That's level 1. And it gets a little harder as time goes on. You also throw a butterfly in. I don't think you're supposed to step on the butterfly. You're just supposed to step on the bug. And it's not exactly like Simon, although this could probably play like Simon. So I guess we go into the next level. All right, yep, bug butterfly, just keep tabs on the butterfly. And also make sure you hit where you're supposed to. So, I guess you're not supposed to hit the butterfly, but you can hit the bug. Hit the blue, and be careful that you don't miss. Okay, blue, green. But I am pleasantly surprised that the Foot Craze pad works on the 2600 Plus. I needed something different to show among all the other 2600 Plus videos, and this was definitely something that would be different, and I think can also go into catalog for the knowledge for the 2600 Plus, because there's still some bugs on that system to fix up. And stomp, stomp, fun game. For all intents and purposes, I don't think anyone really expected the Foot Craze pad to work. And I'm glad it did. Gives me something to look for. And for anyone having a collectible in their collection, try it. Might just work. Who knows? Okay, now I want to get into a little something that's been advertised a bit. The 7800 Plus. And right now, it's like you've probably seen a whole lot of videos on the 7800 Plus. Some saying, well, some being angry about it. It's like, oh, they're just taking your money, this is a cash grab. And some saying, where's my 5200 Plus? Or where's the Jaguar Plus? I think the undertone of this is Atari probably could have made a better choice. And I mean, yeah. I mean, the 7800 Plus would be nice, but the side feature of that would be a wireless controller, which is impressive in its own right, but for some this would be a 2600 Plus repackaged. And to jump into getting like what would likely be just another 2600 Plus, I mean, I haven't gotten the 400 mini that Taylor and Amy asked me to get. I will likely get the 7800 Plus when time and cash permit, but I share what I believe to be the undertone in a lot of their messages, a lot of YouTuber messages and commentary messages. There were better choices, I think, that could have been done. 5200 Plus is one. I'd say right now with Atari having the Intellivision rights, you do an Intellivision Plus. And yeah, I'd say probably a Lynx Plus or Jaguar Plus. And then maybe something new down the road. I have a feeling, however, even with the 7800 Plus, we're not quite done with the 2600 Plus, because the 2600 Plus is not a perfect system. Well, some will say it's an emulator and all that, but it doesn't capture it perfectly, and that's notable with the absence of use of the keyboard controllers and the driving controller. Atari is going to have to, I believe, figure some way around that. Either a firmware update or a whole new controller where you're able to make use of the keyboard and a rotating driving controller, which would be able to connect to the system, to the games that's supposed to play. Because those keyboard games are part of Atari's history. Not to mention the video touchpad, which I think we'd also like, so we could play Star Raiders. So, even with a 7800 Plus, I'd say we're not done with the 2600 Plus yet. There's still a little bit that needs to be done, or could be done. And that's my 2 cents. Moving on. Don't forget to click. You thought we were done yet. No, not quite. And I just realized that, there was something else that the 2600 Plus is supposed to do that I did not cover. Being able to play 7800 games. So I figured we'd try out a 7800 game on the 2600 Plus. The game in question, Atari's Food Fight. Atari Food Fight for the 7800. Rules simple, eat the cone. I accidentally switched it to 2-player for this, so I'm going to be playing one controller on both ends. The premise is pretty simple. You're basically grabbing food and throwing it at chefs, trying to get to the other end of an ice cream cone, but also making sure that the chefs don't catch you. The chefs can also grab the food and throw it at you. Your character's name is Charlie Chuck, and Charlie Chuck just wants to eat his ice cream cone. But these angry chefs, they don't want you in their kitchen. And when they catch you, all the food that's in the room gets thrown at you. I'm having to switch over controllers over here so I can do the player 2 as well. It's a simple enough premise, but you know what? I can still have fun with it. And also, I'm also having to adjust to going to the other controller, so forgive the stall as I keep switching controllers back and forth. So, grabbing that, and also make sure you know where you're throwing the food at, so that the chefs don't hit you. So here we go again. Right? That's level 1, and you're only dealing with 2 chefs right now, and that cone melts fast. That cone goes away, level over, you lose. The game is simple. Got one, yes. Got another chef. And, well, good throwing arm, just terrible aim. And, yep, got me again. I'd say be careful with the controllers and know how they handle. And also just make sure the chefs don't catch you. Those chefs look pretty nasty. But, gulp, and the chefs run away. You still have the same food you had last level, and it can help you on this one. And going up, pick up those eclairs. Ooh, strawberry. And the food that's left gets added to your score. Okay. Ooh, missed. Was he throwing? No, I think that's maybe some kind of parsley. Yeah. Good arm, terrible aim. Game over, player 1. Made it to level 4 there. I think I might make it a little better here. I don't know. So, let's throw it. Got one. And, well, got the cone. It really is a simple enough game. But yeah. Ooh, missed. And lost. Game over, player 2. I'm going to tell you, I love Food Fight. The premise, you're throwing food at angry chefs. You're just a kid trying to get to the other end to eat an ice cream cone. Even though it's 3/4 melted by the time you get to the other side. The goal is eat the ice cream cone. And avoid the chefs that can also throw food at you. And if you're still on some food from the previous level, you're going to be carrying it over to the next one. I think this is a very player-friendly game, but you just have to get your skills up. And once they are, I think you're in for a good long amount of fun here. And that, I'd say is that for now. Feel like I've missed out on a game and want to nominate one of your own? Don't forget to check me out on social media or leave a comment and a like in the description below. See y'all next time, and don't forget to click and subscribe. See you next time.